This is Failing Justice.
American 11, are you trying to call?
The cockpit is not answering their phone. Our number 1 has been staffed, and our 5 has been staffed.
I'm going to call from Washington. I am a situation with American 11, a possible hijack.
What's going on, Betty? The aircraft is erratic again. Problem, very erratic. Betty, talk to me. Betty, are you there? Betty? Betty?
The plane just hit What? The 737?
Did what?
Like the World Trade
Who are you
Center.
talking to?
Oh, God. Oh, my God.
United 175, New York. We have some problems over here right now. We might have a hijack over here, 2 of them.
Jules, this is Ryan. Listen, on an airplane that's been hijacked, and things don't go well, and it's not looking good. I just want you to know I absolutely love you. I want you to do good. Go have a good time. Same to my parents and everybody. And I just totally love you, and I'll see you later, Jessica. Bye, babe.
What are those people going to do? All the elevators are blocked out.
Oh my God. So both towers are now.
Okay, now I got an aircraft 6 miles east of the White House.
Crystal City, just north of Crystal City.
Just to the north of your town.
Yeah, stop all departures.
Pentagon just got hit. Don't say that. God damn, I can't even protect my NCA.
United 93, that traffic for you is 1 o'clock, 12 miles eastbound 370.
Negative contact, we're looking, United 93.
United 93, Cleveland, if you hear the center ident.
I got that piece of dog. You put him in today. You have the ball board.
Tuesday, 9:47 a.m.
Hi, baby. Baby, you have to listen to me carefully. I'm on a plane that's been hijacked. I'm on the plane. I'm calling from the plane. I want to tell you I love you. Please tell my children that I love them very much. And I'm so sorry, babe. I hope to be able to see your face again, baby. I love you. Bye.
We're 56865. We have, I believe it is a Boeing 757. Can you see him up there, sir?
That's confirmed. It looks like he's rocking his wings.
Roger.
He's rocking back and forth.
We're 56865. I advise you stay away from that aircraft. Go north as fast as you can.
United 93, have you got information on that yet?
Yeah, he's down.
He's down?
Yes.
When did he land?
He did not land.
Oh, he's down?
Yes,
Down?
somewhere up northeast of Camp David.
Sean, it's me. I just want to let you know I love you, and I'm stuck in this building in New York. There's lots of smoke, and I just wanted you to know that I love you always.
At number 2 World Trade Center, right. Lady was shooting in the office. We're not ready to die, but it's getting bad.
I'm on the 83rd floor. I'm gonna die, aren't I? No. I'm gonna die.
Liv, say your prayers.
God.
We're gonna think positive because you gotta help each other get off the floor.
I'm
Now,
gonna die.
A new type of war. That's what it is.
Welcome to the Failing Justice podcast. September 11th, 2001 was a day that, if you were alive, you remember, you were old enough to remember. It was a day that we will never, ever forget. And I want to pay tribute. It is 9/11. By the time some of you hear this recording, It will be after 9/11. But I would be remiss to not talk about this day for my podcast this week. We want to remember and honor the resilience, the bravery, and the unwavering spirit of our nation in the face of adversity on this day. On this solemn day, we had to stand united as Americans. We have to commemorate the lives lost on September 11th, 2001. And we have to pay tribute to the countless heroes who emerged from the darkness to defend our freedom. This is time to reflect on indomitable America, the indomitable American spirit that binds us together as we remember these events of that fateful day and reaffirm our commitment to the values that make our country strong. For over 2 decades now, the memory of 9/11 has been etched into the very fabric of our nation's identity. It serves as a stark reminder that we as a nation are forged in the fires of adversity, and that in our darkest moments we shine the brightest. The acts of heroism displayed by first responders on that day, the selflessness of the ordinary people, the ordinary citizens, and the unity that swept across our land in the aftermath of the attacks are truly a testament to the enduring strength of the American people. And in the face of this tragedy, our country truly came together. I want to play this video, and I want to give everybody a reminder of what it was like, what the message was, what the mission was from the top. Right after this. This video is a couple minutes long. Some of you will remember it well, but I want to play it because I want you to listen to the words.
Good evening. Today, our fellow citizens, our way of life, our very freedom came under attack in a series of deliberate and deadly terrorist acts. The victims were in airplanes or in their offices. Secretaries, businessmen and women, military and federal workers, moms and dads, friends and neighbors. Thousands of lives were suddenly ended by evil, despicable acts of terror. The pictures of airplanes flying into buildings, fires burning, huge structures collapsing, have filled us with disbelief, terrible sadness, and a quiet, unyielding anger. These acts of mass murder were intended to frighten our nation into chaos and retreat. But they have failed. Our country is strong. A great people has been moved to defend a great nation. Terrorist attacks can shake the foundations of our biggest buildings, but they cannot touch the foundation of America. These acts shattered steel, but they cannot dent the steel of American resolve. America was targeted for attack because we're the brightest beacon for freedom and opportunity in the world, and no one will keep that light from shining. Today our nation saw evil, the very worst of human nature, and we responded with the best of America, with the daring of our rescue workers, with the caring for strangers and neighbors who came to give blood and help in any way they could. Immediately following the first attack, I implemented our government's emergency response plans. Our military is powerful, and it's prepared. Our emergency teams are working in New York City and Washington, D.C. to help with local rescue efforts. Our first priority is to get help to those who have been injured and to take every precaution to protect our citizens at home and around the world from further attacks. The functions of our government continue without interruption. Federal agencies in Washington, which had to be evacuated today, are reopening for essential personnel tonight and will be open for business tomorrow. Our financial institutions remain strong, and the American economy will be open for business as well. The search is underway for those who are behind these evil acts. I've directed the full resources of our intelligence and law enforcement communities to find those responsible and to bring them to justice. We will make no distinction between the terrorists who committed these acts and those who harbor them. I appreciate so very much the members of Congress who have joined me in strongly condemning these attacks. And on behalf of the American people, I thank the many world leaders who have called to offer their condolences and assistance. America and our friends and allies join with all those who want peace and security in the world, and we stand together to win the war against terrorism. Tonight I ask for your prayers for all those who grieve, for the children whose worlds have been shattered, for all whose sense of safety and security has been threatened. And I pray they will be comforted by a power greater than any of us, spoken through the ages in Psalm 23. Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I fear no evil, for you are with me. This is a day when all Americans from every walk of life unite in our resolve for justice and peace. America has stood down enemies before, and we will do so this time. None of us will ever forget this day, yet we go forward to defend freedom and all that is good and just in our world. Thank you. Good night, and God bless America.
We united on immediately after the aftermath of September 11th. We unite with resolve, as President George Bush at the time said, and we fear no evil. And in the face of this tragedy, our country came together literally as one, setting aside our differences to defend the principles that define us. We found solace in our shared values of freedom, liberty, and as he said, justice. And we resolve to stand resolute in the face of any challenge that threatens our way of life. And that was on 9/12. That was for weeks and months. What happened to that? What happened to our setting our differences aside? Everybody has a difference. We all have difference in opinion, what we think politically. But we set those aside to defend the principles that define us. And we found solace in our shared values. What happened to having shared values in this country? It seems like such a long time ago, which I guess it is, well over 20 years now. But as I spoke a couple of podcasts ago, what happened to our America? Unity is just gone. Is unity even in the realm of possibility anymore? Our society and our culture has taught us that our differences are to segregate us. Because we are different, we are to have conflict with our neighbor. And we are on the brink of complete destruction in our country if we cannot get back to the shared values of freedom, liberty, and justice, just like we had 20 years ago. And so may we never forget 9/11, and may we also never forget 9/12. Somebody posted yesterday, I saw a Facebook post, and they were talking about this very thing. They said, we miss 9/12. We miss the strangers coming together. We miss the unity. We miss where there wasn't division every time you turned around, every time you logged on the internet, every time you logged on. None of those things, of course, social media wasn't really existent back then, but I commented on that and I said, I miss it too. But will we ever get to go back to that? As I've mentioned before, will it take a tragedy? Will we have to go to war? Will our brothers and sisters and dads and moms, aunts and uncles and best friends have to go fight a war and lose their lives for us to have unity? Sometimes I wonder if there's even going to be a war right here on our own streets. We are no longer teaching our children what those values are. We have social media influencers. That's what they're calling them. Social media influencers. Craving views, craving likes, craving shares of garbage, of division, not unity. And those are the people that we are putting our trust in. Those are the people that we are paying most attention to. Look at the views that people like that get. And then look at the views that people like me get. We have lost our way. And by the way, I'm not doing this for views. So I know I got a lot of people that don't like me who listen to this, who love to twist things that I say. So I want to make that extremely clear. I don't do this because of views. And I'm not complaining that some social media influencer gets more views than I. My point to that is this. That is clearly, by the analytics and by the numbers, that is what America is watching. And it's a sad time. But I don't want to forget September 11th, and I don't want to forget September 12th, 2001, and the days and the months that followed. And I wanted to remind everybody to go back to that time and remember what it felt like. Remember the lack of division that we had and how we came together as a country for the common good of a stranger. I want to move on to New Mexico, which kind of falls in line with what I was just talking about. It's like, what is even the Constitution anymore? Why do we even have a Bill of Rights anymore? Michelle Grisham, the governor of New Mexico, has decided that it is an emergency and she needs to ban all open and concealed carry in the state of New Mexico for 30 days. Watch this press conference. Listen to this.
So in this public health order, which is effective today, September 8th, which lasts 30 days, and then we'll, like all the other public health orders, we will either amend or renew or adjust, depending upon where we are. So effective immediately, no person other than a law enforcement officer or licensed security officer shall possess a firearm, either openly or concealed, within cities or counties, averaging 1,000 or more violent crimes per 100,000, and more than 90 firearm-related emergency department visits. So to put that in sort of a layman's terms, for 30 days in Albuquerque and Bernalillo County, it's the only place that meets both those standards. Statewide order, but only one place meets both criteria, where we have far too many ER gunshot visits and we have far too many crimes involving firearms. We are suspending open and concealed carry.
We are suspending open and concealed carry. Basically, let's just go ahead and suspend the entire Constitution. And if you caught what she said in the beginning of that, this governor, this Democratic governor, and I don't care if you're Democratic, if you're Republican, if you're Libertarian, I don't care what side of the aisle you are on, but we have a Constitution for a reason. And to sit there and call this a public health order, that's what she said. She said, this is a public health order. What do you mean this is a public health order? What does the Second Amendment say? May I remind those what the Second Amendment says? The right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. That's what it says. It's clear as day. Our founders wrote that. Our founders knew. Shall not be infringed, but we have a public health order. And the public health order is we have too many ER gunshot wound visits. There's too many. So it's a public health order that we suspend the Constitution for 30 days. And guess what? If we think that it needs to be suspended longer, we will revisit. And at that point, we can revise, we can extend. This is what I'm talking about. Everything unconstitutional has to be an emergency. If you remember correctly, COVID-19 was an emergency. And we literally all lost our freedoms for a long time because it was an emergency. We no longer had the right as a person, as a citizen of this country, to choose what we put on our face, where we went. And it was labeled an emergency. I'm mind blown by this. I don't know. I don't know why I am. There's so many things that go on around in this country that you just would think, oh, that. But that's the problem. People have become so numb and so callous to this that when these kinds of things happen, it doesn't bother them anymore. They're just so used to it. In the new generation, they just accept it because they're not taught what the Constitution says. They're not taught what our rights as citizens of this great country are. That anybody who is in quote-unquote power can just strip your constitutional right away. And we're just supposed to be okay with it because it's an emergency. So how does it make sense? I have a question. How does it make sense to sit there and say, let's take the rights of the law-abiding citizens away, okay, who legally possess a firearm? And if you take that ability from that person away, I'm in downtown Dallas. Forget the fact that I'm a cop. Let's just say I wasn't, and I was an ordinary citizen. I carry my gun with me everywhere I go. Say I walk out of this, I'm on the 9th floor of this building. Say I go downstairs as soon as I'm done recording, and there's a woman down there who's being held at knife point or gunpoint. And I was a regular citizen, but the governor or whoever said that I couldn't carry a firearm. How am I going to protect that person who needs protecting? So it makes sense. Take away the ability of the law-abiding citizens to protect themselves and others. Take it away. Because do you think by suspending logic, can we please use logic? Miss Grisham, do you think the criminals are going to abide by that? Do they even have a permit or a license to carry in the first place? No, they don't. If they're in a gang, they're going to go out here and gangbang. They're still going to shoot. And all you're doing, literally all you are doing, is giving them the ability to say, okay, gang, we know that they have suspended the rights of the people. We weren't following the laws anyway, so we know that those that are can no longer protect themselves. So what are you saying? You're giving the criminals literally the ability to have more freedom with their criminal acts, with their shootings. They go in a business in a convenience store and they know, hey, guess what? They're not going to have a shotgun behind the counter, so let's rob them. Shall not be infringed. The right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Oddly enough, my next topic comes out of New Mexico. Because they said, this is a separate topic, but I put them back to back on purpose. Because her order says only law enforcement or security officers are the ones who have the ability to carry a firearm. Okay. Because law enforcement, we can literally trust them, right? Look what happened at the shootings at the school in Florida. What did that law enforcement officer do? He ran. But I want to bring you to this topic because we can trust law enforcement to do the right things with their guns, right? This incident that I'm about to talk about happened back in July, but it didn't get released until just a few days ago. I want to play the video, and then I would love to talk about what these law enforcement officers did in New Mexico, because we can trust them. Here it goes.
A family rushing to try and save their dog's life stopped and held at gunpoint by the cops. KRQE investigative reporter Gabrielle Burkhardt obtained the police videos from a traffic stop that still has a family in disbelief. Did Bernalillo police officers take things too far? Have a look.
It was a neighborhood cat that lured Stella the Labradoodle into traffic in July.
I was like, oh my God, our dog just got hit.
The Albrecht family jumped into action.
We jumped in the car and started trying to get to the ER as fast as we could to try to save her life.
William Albrecht headed down 550 through Bernalillo from their Rio Rancho home toward the nearest 24-hour emergency vet. He spots a Bernalillo police cruiser.
So I imagined if he was going to pull me over for speeding, I'd pull over, he'd say something to me, and then maybe even help us get there. I've heard of stories like that before, but that didn't happen.
Driver, step out of the vehicle!
This is what did happen.
Face the away from me!
Lapel video shows Officer Jeremy Navarez put Albrecht at gunpoint, ordering him out of the car.
Step back! Step back!
Realizing what's happening,
my dog's gonna die!
Albrecht's wife starts recording on her cell phone.
Roll the window down, Remy. I'm thinking, this is unbelievable. I can't believe this. Like, why didn't someone just come check with us, find out what the reason our speeding was, and help us?
She and her son watch in disbelief.
Step back, go to your left.
As Navarez directs Albrecht into traffic, backup arrives, but they continue with a felony stop.
Get faster! Get on your knees!
Guns drawn. His wife and 16-year-old son now at gunpoint.
My dog's about to die!
Albrecht is handcuffed.
My dog's about to die!
I saw my son was sticking his hands out the window too, like, dude, our dog's gonna die.
Okay, come to me. My dog's gonna die.
And none of them seemed to even care at the moment at all.
Keep your hand, please! My neighbor hit my dog. That's my son and my wife. Stand up. Please, sir, my dog's about to die.
He's taken to the back of a patrol car.
Sir, my dog's bleeding out of mouth. Okay.
Albrecht's wife tries to explain.
She's going to die. She got hit by a car. Look at his face, sir. Look, she's bleeding. Look at my dog. My dog is bleeding out of the face. And they're holding us on the side of the road.
The officer who pulled them over wrote in his report that Albrecht was speeding and driving recklessly, but he wasn't given a citation, and there's no video of a pursuit. That first officer also never walked up to the family's car to check on the dog or ask why they were speeding.
Officer Navarez's report says he drew his firearm and pointed it towards the immediate threat, writing the driver looked mad with his hands clenched in the air. The officer's video shows otherwise.
Driver, step out of the vehicle!
The second I saw my guns to my son's head, like, I really felt like when I got out of the car, like, this dude might shoot me if I make the wrong move.
I can't believe you're doing this, sir. Christ, man.
Another officer convinced Navarez to let the family go.
I'm gonna get out of here. Referee 5 units, go ahead and downgrade.
The cuffs come off.
Dude, you're something else, man.
You're something else, sir.
Yeah, that was
good luck with your dogs.
Their dog Stella didn't make it.
It's horrible. Like, she was such a great dog.
So how did speeding turn into a felony stop? The family had no weapons or warrants.
I can't believe you pulled your gun on my kids, sir.
Policy.
Oh, yeah, I hear you.
We asked for a copy of that policy and the use of force policies from Bernalillo Police, but those policies don't explain what happened here.
BPD's policy does call for de-escalation, saying the level of force employed must be commensurate with the threat posed by the subject and the seriousness of the situation. Officer Navarez claims Albrecht didn't immediately pull over, which he disputes.
As soon as I noticed the lights, I pulled over.
We have something before and the red Escalade, 550 down. Maybe I'll stop it. Oh, now it's stopping.
For confirming the vehicle stopping.
33 seconds after his first call to dispatch, he says they're stopped.
No one came at him. No one threatened him. And again, like, what did he see that scared him so bad? I mean, this guy was angry.
The Albrecht saw just how angry watching the officer's recording.
Are you kidding me?
So he's gonna complain.
They also heard Officer Navarez's explanation.
Well, yeah, so I did a felony stop on him because he wasn't stopping when he stopped. Okay. Once we found out his dog was injured, and he was trying to get to veterinarian, we tried the ID and let him go if he's being
That guy shouldn't be a cop.
What was going through your head?
Scared. Bernalillo Police Department in New Mexico. Okay, quick recap. Even though you saw it on the video, the Albright family's dog got ran over. Okay, so they're trying to rush it to the vet because it's in critical condition. So pets or family or pets. Like, you dog people, you pet people out there, y'all know what this is. So the dog gets ran over. And so the Albright family, the wife, the husband, and the 16-year-old boy, they both hop in the SUV, and they're booking it down the road. There's probably no doubt that Mr. Albright was speeding. I mean, I don't think he contests that at all, right? He probably was speeding. Hell, I think anybody who cares about their dog's probably going to be speeding. BPD sees the car allegedly speeding because there's no video, right? So we can't, I mean, there's no way to even to sit there and say this is right or this is wrong. We're just taking the word of this police officer. Okay? So a felony stop was conducted. And those that don't know what a felony stop is, I mean, I know I have a lot of law enforcement that listen, but if you don't know what a felony stop is, that's where usually it's a high-risk traffic stop. If somebody has like a stolen car, if somebody has killed somebody, robbed a store, something violent, something very extreme, you pull them over. The police officer doesn't approach, right? I can't even give you a number. 100 felony stops and over, I don't know. I've done a lot of them. But the officer does not approach the vehicle. They stay back with the vehicle. Typically, maybe they wait on backup or, sometimes they got to do it without backup. But what they do is they open their vehicle, they draw their gun, and it's like, hey, this is serious. They're going to give them commands. The person's going to walk back, and they're going to put them in cuffs. They're going to put pretty much everybody in the vehicle in cuffs. It's a serious situation, okay? Have I ever done a felony stop because somebody was speeding? Hell no, I have never done a felony stop because somebody was speeding. This is freaking absurd. Officer Jeremy Navarez is the guy's name. Bernalillo Police Department pulls him over for speeding and does a freaking felony stop. Back the F up, back the F up. Like, I don't understand, number one, what warranted a felony stop. And they're sitting there telling the guy, like, the guy is so tunnel visioned, he is not even realizing what's going on. It took somebody else, another police officer, thank God, to come on scene and say, hey, bro, you need to let him go. And then even the guy was like, I can't believe you pointed your gun. He's like, oh, it's policy. Oh, was it policy to pull your gun out? Pointed at a 16-year-old and a family, and these were decent-looking people, man. These people were like, I mean, nothing shady-looking about them. They had their bloody dog in the front seat. I mean, pull the guy over if he's speeding. Why didn't he walk up to the car? He didn't walk up to the car and ask any questions. Had he walked up to the car and saw the dog that's bloody, they could have said, look, man, I'm sorry I'm speeding. Our dog got ran over. We're trying to get to the vet. All right, look, bro, this is exactly how I would have done it. Just slow down, okay? No matter how much you love your dog's life isn't worth your life or somebody else's life. So just slow down. I'm sorry about your dog. Get on your way. There would be no, hold on, I'm running your license. There would be none of that. There would be, get on your way. But that's what happens when you have rogue cops running the street out there. The same cops that the New Mexico governor says, hey, we should entrust them to carry guns, but nobody else. And this is what they do. This is what a law enforcement officer does with his gun in New Mexico, who has the authority, one of the only two professions, security and law enforcement, that's allowed to carry a gun. And this is what happens. So he turns around and says, oh, it's policy. And then he's F this, F that. And then he tries to sit there and tell the other police officer that had freaking sense to come stop the whole thing and try to justify his actions. There's no justification for that, man. Zero, zilch. I don't care how you look at it. There is zero justification for that BS. And that's why I get so fired up. And it goes back to the mindset, okay? I was talking to somebody this morning, another friend of mine that's a law enforcement officer. It's the mindset. It's the mindset of these cops. Your job, as cliche as it sounds, and it goes back all the way back to the beginning of policing. Your job is to serve and protect. It's cliche, but that's literally your job. You were supposed to get in law enforcement to serve the people of your community and to protect the people of your community. And going out here pulling guns on families because they're speeding because their freaking dog got ran over is just absolutely absurd. And it's the mindset. He wanted to be amped up. He wanted that situation to happen. Police officers are supposed to be trained in de-escalation techniques. And there was no de-escalation there whatsoever. It was almost even after the fact, like he was antagonizing them. And he truly didn't think he was wrong. And that man has a gun, one of the only people who are allowed to have a gun in New Mexico, roaming the streets. And this is what our country has come to. As I always say, and you will hear me say probably every episode that I do of Failing Justice, the trust is eroded. It's gone. How can you trust? Even me as a cop, I'm telling you right now, even me as a law enforcement officer, when I fear what a police officer can do, if I'm in an area that I know there's been trouble with police officers, you can't just take the word of a police officer anymore. He even lied on his report. If you look at the video, he lied and said that Mr. Albright was aggressive and clenching his fist, and you can clearly look in the video. There's none of that going on. He was totally cooperative. What about the policy and procedure at that point shouldn't matter? I mean, yeah, it should matter. He should follow policy and procedure, but that's not a policy and procedure problem. That is a mind and a heart problem. And that guy should be terminated. I reached out to this police department and they wouldn't respond back to me. I wanted to get a statement, figure out what in the hell they're talking, what that was about, what they think about that. What about the humanitarian approach? There was nothing human about that. I mean, just like the guy said, he was so angry, and it's mind-boggling. And that's it out of New Mexico. That is out of New Mexico, where guns are now banned for 30 days. Back home. Let's bring it back home to East Texas. This is close to me. Literally where I live. In my East Texas audience, y'all know, I'm going to talk about it. I can't not talk about it. Coffee City, Texas. I live 100 yards from the city limits of Coffee City. Okay? And, man, people, I'm telling you, people see headlines and they think, oh, man, that's crazy because that happened in Dallas or that happened in New York or Chicago. You know, no. Look at what's happening in your own backyard. For those that don't know about Coffee City, I want you to watch a video, and then I'll explain the rest.
Up first tonight, breaking news from the KHOU 11 Investigates team.
Just a few hours ago, the city council in tiny Coffee City, Texas, voted unanimously to fire its police chief and deactivate the entire police department until a new chief can be hired. This comes after KHOU 11 Investigates uncovered questionable practices in the department in a series of reports.
Jeremy Rogowski is in Coffee City tonight with the exclusive update. Jeremy.
The Coffee City Council took less than 15 minutes to reach its decision. It means this tiny town of 250 people that once had 50 officers on the force now has none. Coffee City Council members took swift and serious action after what KHOU 11 Investigates uncovered. A police department that routinely hired cops with troubling work histories, hired by a chief, John J. Portillo, who had an unresolved criminal charge, and who launched a questionable warrant division with officers who didn't even work in Coffee City.
There was things that we weren't aware of, and that just really opened our eyes that, there's major changes that have got to be made and made quickly.
Portillo had tried to email his resignation before the meeting, but council members refused to accept it and instead outright fired the chief. And in a bombshell move, it also voted to deactivate the department as a whole.
We just felt it was best to basically terminate the program. That way we were able to go out, find a new chief, let him do all the proper evaluations and determine if he wants to rehire anybody or just start from scratch.
The action was welcome news for many residents who say they've lived with over-aggressive policing for too long.
Ever since we moved here, it was every day cop pulling in for one reason or another.
Something needed to happen, that's for sure.
The Henderson County Sheriff's Office will respond to calls for the time being. As for the 50 full-time and reserve officers, we're told they will not be allowed to perform police officer activities unless or until they're picked up by another department. Finally, we reached out to John J. Portillo for comment. We have not heard back.
Okay, so let me give you guys a recap on this. I know a good guy that worked for the Coffee City Police Department. He's a police officer. He actually, as soon as all this came out, he said, I'm out of here. I don't want anything to do with this. And he quit. He's a good guy. He's one of the only guys over there that was doing some real police work. And so whenever he found out that this all came out, because KHOU out of Houston, Texas, started doing this investigation probably about 3 weeks ago. And this is about their fourth or fifth video that they've released. So recap, 250 people live in Coffee City. Coffee City is just south of Tyler. It's known for it's right there on the Lake Palestine, and they have liquor stores there because for the longest time, everybody had to drive. They didn't even sell beer in Tyler, so everybody had to drive to Coffee City. And if you go down that little strip, it's about, I don't know, a mile, maybe two, on Highway 155 in East Texas. It's about a mile or two long, and there's liquor stores lined up on the right and left side. And so many, actually over the years, a lot of them have closed. But I remember as a kid, there was just 6-7 liquor stores. You had I mean, it's a cornucopia of liquor options because everybody had to drive there. And so they're known for their liquor stores, and they're known for being right there on the lake. There is a lot of drugs that come through Coffee City. A lot of drugs that pass through 155. That's just a corridor for drugs, meth particularly. And so 250 people roughly lived there. In Coffee City, police department had 50 officers. A lot of them are reserved. Most of them are reserves. And what that means is they're hired on, and not for compensation. They don't get paid, but they have the ability to come and work. And that police department, that agency holds that police officer's license with the state and keeps it active. And so it looks like the chief, the former chief there, John J. Portillo, which I have a story about him. I have had a conversation with him in the past. But the chief there was just hiring people. Hey, come reserve, come over here, reserve for us. And there was no limit. There was no cap. He hired all these guys, no clue. I mean, as you can see, their backgrounds were questionable. Hell, the chief's background was questionable. The chief, Portillo, had a DWI charge out of Florida and an active warrant, and he was chiefing. He was going out there pulling people over, putting people in jail for DWI when he had an active warrant. This proposes so many problems, and let me tell you what it boils down to. There has to be some oversight. There has to be people, no matter how small that department is or any department is, there has to be somebody overseeing the operations. Oh, and they also had $1 million in revenue. If you go to KHOU Houston and you look this up, you can watch all the series. But they had, I believe it was last year, or maybe the year before, I can't remember. But it was $1 million of revenue for this little 1-2 mile long town on Highway 155 with 50 police officers. $1 million in revenue. And there was no oversight. The chief was working security in Houston. He was hiring people on, saying that they were quote unquote full-time, but they were living in Houston. They were full-time officers living in Houston, and all they were doing were calling people on the phone saying, hey, you're not paying your ticket, you're not paying your ticket. And so they would get a finder's fee. But let me tell you the reason behind the scenes on that, right? The reason for that is just simply they were full-time status. That way they could go and work security gigs. You know, you ever see the cars in the traffic lanes, in the construction when you're driving late at night? Those guys are sitting in there watching Netflix, making anywhere between $50 and $80 an hour working security. So a lot of police officers who are full-time, who work for legitimate agencies, go and do those things for extra money. You know, that way they can have extra money to, you know, support their family or whatever. But Mr. John J. Portillo here found a loophole and said, let me hire these guys full-time. They can live in Houston, and they can make some calls, right? They make a few calls here and there. Hey, you got a warrant. We need you to pay it. And they'd pay. And in return, they were getting to have the full-time status, and basically their full-time job was working security. Illegal as hell. And this is what was going on in Coffee City, and nobody knew about it. Why? Why? Because you should be able to trust, right? That's what you should be able to do. You should be able to trust your law enforcement, your head law enforcement, your chief executive, your police chief. You should be able to trust, hey, he's running this agency with integrity. But he wasn't, and there was no oversight on it, and look what he was doing. And he would have continued to do this had nobody looked into it. And so what they've done is they suspended the chief pending an investigation, but then they ended up cutting it out and saying, no, we're just going to fire you, like it said in that video, and we're suspending the entire department until we can get this together and get somebody in here that's going to do something. But here's the problem. I was telling somebody this today. The problem with this is Coffee City probably doesn't pay very much money. I tried looking up financial documents online. I didn't have time to do any open records requests, but I would imagine that chief probably makes anywhere between, probably around $50,000, which isn't, in today's world, it's nothing. So making $50,000, I can't imagine what officers were making under him. I would say probably $35,000, $38,000 at best. Maybe 40, I don't know. I'd say anywhere between 30 and 40, which is not good. And so here's the problem when you have agencies like that. Particularly like, oh, we should get a second chance, you know. And I'm totally all for second chances, right? Because I know that agencies screw good police officers over. I'm a testament to that. Agency tried to screw me over simply because I whistleblowed on them. I pointed out their bullshit, and so they tried their best to destroy me. But I'm looking at you in the camera, and if you're watching me, you didn't destroy me. Good try, but you didn't do it, and you won't do it. And I'm going to be right here anytime. Come join, come sit across from me. Let's have a podcast. Sorry, I got on a little rant there. But my point. When agencies try to destroy good officers, they try to find police departments kind of like Coffee City because they can rebuild, right? And I'm all for that. I'm all for rebuilding because I know that it happens. I know there's corrupt people, corrupt agencies that screw good cops over, and so they need to find a place to rebuild. I'm all for it, right? But here's the problem. Not every officer that comes to you is a rebuild situation. And what they uncovered was that there were officers arrested, officers demoted, officers fired, disciplined. And he's just, hey, come on. So they filled a city full of rogue cops to just go do what they want to do. And that's a problem. And it's right there in my backyard. Literally. In my backyard. And that's because it goes back to no oversight. Nobody, we're just going to trust that they're doing what they're supposed to do. You can't do that. I'm sorry. It sucks. You hear cops say all the time, man, it sucks. They can't take our word anymore. Well, how can they? How can anybody take our word when you literally have something like Coffee City, Texas going on? Or that police agency in New Mexico. How can anybody take your word when they're constantly lying? People say, I don't feel like we should be micro. Hell, I honestly think a lot of cops should be micromanaged. There has to be some accountability. That's what I'm about here at Failing Justice. There has to be some accountability. Because these things are going to keep happening. There's going to be no trust. That's why nobody trusts cops. That's why people run from cops. I mean, it's got to get better. We have got to do something. And that's why I'm here. I'm here to speak the truth, whether anybody likes it or not. Because I've always been passionate about the job, about the profession of law enforcement. I always have been since I was a little kid. If you're listening and you know anything about me, and if this is your first time, go back, read about me. I've been passionate about police work since literally I was 5 years old. But so that passion doesn't go away. Even though I got out of law enforcement for 2 years, that passion didn't go away. My passion now is still law enforcement, but it's about making it a respected profession once again. But that's hard to do. That's a very hard task, but we got to start somewhere, and I'm starting right here at this mic. That's where I'm starting. Guys, listen. Thank you for joining the show. I want to tell everybody, listen, if you're listening to the audio of this podcast and you're like, hey, how do I watch these videos? Because y'all talk about videos. You can go to YouTube, okay? Go to YouTube, go to Rumble. I'm soon going to be on, I'm already on Spotify for the audio portion, but I'm soon going to be on Spotify for video. But right now you can go to YouTube or Rumble, search at Failing One Justice. That's the @ Failing One Justice. And you can pull me up there on YouTube. You can watch this video. You can watch the videos that I played if you're curious about, what that looked like. Follow us on social media. Please follow, share. All my social medias are at Failing One Justice. That's the @ Failing, the number 1 Justice. So you can get me on Twitter, or X, formerly Twitter. You can get me on Instagram. You can get me on Facebook. You can get me on YouTube. You can get me on Rumble. Get me on all the social medias, right? So follow me, because guys, this isn't going to change. Nothing is going to change until the word gets out there, and we got to keep spreading the word. And I got to have the help of my audience to spread this word, because if we don't, I'm in the profession. I've been in the profession. I'm going up on my 15th year, and I'm passionate about the change, but it's not going to change without spreading the word. And I know there's a stigma attached to it, especially for East Texas. I got an East Texas audience. Thank God that's not my only audience. I appreciate my audience everywhere. But people in East Texas and in smaller parts of the South, they're just like, oh my gosh, this is so controversy. You know, my uncle's a cop, or my dad's a cop. I don't care who's a cop. I don't care if you're a cop. Truth is truth. Right is right. Guys, follow me on social media. Spread the word. Tune in next week for another episode of Failing Justice. I'm out.
This is Failing Justice.